Assalamu alaikum everyone. Can you guys hear me? Walaikum salam. I am good, alhamdulillah. Hello Zian. Walaikum salam. Are you happy now? Zian Imran. Okay, so today's objective is, as you guys can see, it's angle properties of circles. Okay, and as always, you'll find a worksheet along with my notes in the description. Okay, you'll find a link which contains my notes as well as description. Okay, as well as past paper questions. Okay, now as you can probably tell by the title, we're not gonna be going over the concepts, because I think the concepts are the concepts are quite covered. Okay, so, and if you want to go over the concepts, I have a bunch of videos on my channel. Okay, I'd suggest you watch that. I've covered every single concept there is. Okay, okay, if you're willing to be a mod, I think I can trust you. Please don't let me down. All right, there you go. Okay, now go over these concepts and hopefully they'll help. Okay, and make sure to, and one thing that I want to mention is that a lot of times we think, as far as angle properties of circles is concerned, a lot of times we think that just because we're done with the concepts, just so we know the concepts well, we should be able to solve the questions. Okay, now let me tell you, that's not always going to be the case. Okay, sometimes you will have to first solve a lot of questions to make sure that you have a good grip on this topic. Okay, just by going over the concepts, don't think that you will be able to effortlessly or seamlessly solve past paper questions. Okay, that's not going to happen. All right, so make sure to go over these notes and hopefully you'll understand pretty much everything there is. In case you don't, like I said, I have videos which you can watch to get a hold of this. Okay, now here's the worksheet, and like we did in the previous live stream, I have highlighted the questions as easy, medium, and hard. Okay, obviously the ones that are easy are highlighted green, medium highlighted yellow, and hard are highlighted red. Okay, and before we start solving past paper questions, I would like you guys to just quickly like the stream. That would obviously mean a lot. And yeah, without wasting any more time, let's get straight to it. Okay, so we're gonna start with a bunch of easy questions. That means the questions that I've highlighted green. Okay, I'd like to solve those first. Yeah, there you go. So this is a question from May-June 2022. So it's fairly recent. Okay, and it's paper 1 variant 2. Now, when you're solving a question like this, and this is especially for O-level students, not IGCSE, try and make sure that you don't use a calculator. Okay, so that you can just learn how to do it without a calculator. Okay, and even the calculations that are involved, you notice they're not that difficult. Okay, they're pretty easy to begin with. Okay, so this question says find A, B, C, and D are points on the circle center. Oh, okay. Find angle ADB. All right, let's see. Now, sometimes just by looking at the question, it's very easy to identify what property to use, but sometimes it's not. So I'll tell you what to do when that happens. Okay, but so far, as far as this question is concerned, it's pretty straightforward. The angle that we have to find is the angle that's at the circumference. The angle that we're given is the angle that's at the center. So we all know from prior knowledge, we all should know from prior knowledge, that the angle at the center is twice the angle at the circumference. That means this angle is going to be half of 70, which means it's going to be 35 degrees. Okay, so that's it. Problem solved. Then it says find BCD, and always have a look at the marks of the question also. So BCD is a 2-mark question. That means you're likely to find one more angle perhaps before you can find out what it is that you're actually supposed to find. Okay, so BCD is this angle. I'm going to switch to a different color for this. Yeah, BCD is this angle. Okay, now if you look at ABCD, okay, it's a cyclic quadrilateral. And why is it a cyclic quadrilateral? Because we can see that all 4 sides are touching the circumference. Now, if it's a cyclic quadrilateral, That means that opposite angles should be supplementary. That means sum of opposite angles in this quadrilateral should be 180 degrees. Okay, but that means even though while I have part of angle DAB, but I don't have this part. Okay, that means I still need to find out what this angle is. So how can I find out this angle? And yes, I can see that someone's mentioned isosceles triangle. That's absolutely correct. So these two lengths are going to be the same because they're both radii of the same circle. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to do 180 minus 70 and we're going to divide it by 2 because these two angles are going to be the same because it's an isosceles triangle. So 180 minus 70 is 110. Divide that by 2 is 55 degrees. So now we have this angle which is equal to 55 degrees. That means this entire angle is going to be equal to 60, 70, 80. Yep, it's going to be equal to 80 degrees. And now we can work out BCD by simply subtracting 80 from 180, and there you go, it's 100 degrees. Okay, there you go, that's the answer. Okay, let me take your questions now. Thank you, Abuzer, means a lot. Okay, so Shy edits. The thing is that you're very likely to find it in paper 1 for mostly. Okay, so but that doesn't mean it can't come in paper 2. Okay, so plus 25 is 80. Yeah, so there you go, 100 degrees is your final answer. All right, let's do another question that I have highlighted green so that we can do a few easy questions before we move on to more difficult ones. Okay, now here's another question. Let's see what it says. So it says here A, B, C, and D are points on the circumference of a circle. So have a look at the circle also. A, B, C, D. AC and BD intersect at X. There you go. AC and BD intersect at X. Write down the angle that is equal to angle AXD, giving your answer for giving reason for your answer. Okay, so AXD is this angle. All right. That means this angle and this angle will be equal. Okay. And why are these two angles going to be equal? So reason behind that is not a circle property. Reason behind that is something to do with straight lines. Okay, so what do we call this property? We call this property vertically opposite. All right, please remember that this has got nothing to do with circles. When two lines cross, their opposite angles are equal. Okay, so there you go, vertically opposite angles. Yes, Abdullah, I do remember now. And Shayan, yes, I do remember now. Okay, then it says write down the angle that is equal to DAX. Okay, so DAX means that this angle. So this angle is going to be equal to this angle. And why is that? That is because of, well, we don't call it Spider-Man eyes. We call it same segment. Okay, please don't make the mistake of writing it as Spider-Man eyes in the exam. Okay. So this angle is equal to CBX, and the reason behind that is same segment. Okay, it's a 2-mark question. That means you get 1 mark for writing what it's equal to, and you get another mark for mentioning the reason. Yes, Zayan, you can write it as XBC also, makes no difference. Okay, let's do another question. So here's another question which I've highlighted green, which means it's pretty easy. Okay. And it's asking you for the value of y. Okay, now even though it's a circle question, it's angle properties of circles. Okay, but it basically has another concept inside of it. Okay, and what is that? Let's find out. So since it's a cyclic quadrilateral, we know very well that the opposite angles 4x minus 87 plus y equals to 180 degrees. Okay, that's nothing new for us. So it's opposite angles that are supplementary. All right, now we can simplify this equation, but the sad part is that we can't really use this equation to find out x or y. Okay, yes, Vansh, we will solve them simultaneously. That's correct. Good job. 267 degrees. Okay, so we can't really do anything with this equation because, as you can see, you have two unknowns, x and y. But if you consider these two angles, you'll notice that you will have just one variable over here. Okay, so 2x plus x plus 60 equals to 180 degrees. Sum of all the angles equals to 360. Okay, so while there's nothing wrong with that, but the thing is that won't really allow you to make an equation with one variable and then solve it. Okay, that is true. Sum of all angles is equal to 360 degrees, but you're not going to be able to solve it with the help of that. So 2x plus x is 3x. 180 minus 60 is 120 degrees. Okay, so 3x is equals to 120 divided by 3, which is sorry about that, which is equal to 40 degrees. And there you go. Once you have this value of x, you're going to plug it back into the first equation. So 4 times 40 plus y equals to 267. So 160 plus y equals to 267. Notice how the question here is only asking for the value of y, not for the value of x. So 267 minus 160 is equal to 107 degrees. And there you go. That's it. That's your answer. Okay. Okay. That was another question. Fairly easy. Let me see if I have any other easy question left. Okay, so here's one question. Let's solve this. And this, again, I should mention is, okay, I don't know where this is from, but this is definitely from past papers. In fact, I think it's from, yeah, the February-March session, 2022, so fairly recent. Paper 4, variant 2, okay? Sir, please upload AS Math integration exam on Monday. Okay, that's very short notice. I'll see if I can do that. In fact, to be honest, I can't do that. Okay, so I'm sorry about that. All right, so here's part C. Let's see what it says. It says P, Q, R, S, and T lie on a circle. Okay, this is part C of some question. Okay, so part B and A are probably irrelevant. WSR is a straight line, so keep that in mind. WSR is a straight line, and WSP is 112 degrees, which you can see. Calculate angle PTR. So it's a good idea to start by marking the angle that you're supposed to find. Okay. Now, there's no way to find out this angle directly, but there's something that I can do which will help me find out the value of this angle. If I can somehow find out angle, okay, what is this angle? Angle PSR. Okay, so that's gonna have PSR will be equal to 180 minus 112. So angle PSR is equals to, let's see what do we get, 180 minus 112, that's 68 degrees. Okay, now PSR is going to be equal to PTR. Why is that? PSR equals to PTR. Although the question is not asking you for reasoning, okay, but they're going to be the same, and the reason behind that is 68 degrees, same segment. Same segment. Okay, there you go. All right, that's that. Let's write the answer over here. 68 degrees. Okay. Yes, Nabil, that's correct. All right, now let's do a few questions which I've highlighted yellow. That means they fall in the medium difficulty level range. Okay. So here's a question. This is also from IGCSE. Okay, so for some odd reason, I've accidentally erased where they're from, but fairly recent. Okay, probably 2021 or 2022. Okay, let's see what it says. So it says here A, B, C, and D are points on a circle. TU is tangent to the circle at D. So you can see that TU is a line which is tangent to the circle at D. You know, I'd probably suggest that you underline the word tangent. Okay, well, it might help. It might not, but it's always a good idea to underline it. Then it says DA is parallel to CB. So DA is parallel to CB. So you can see that I've underlined the word parallel. Now, one thing that I should mention over here, only when the question says the two lines are parallel should you assume that, should you take them as parallel, okay? Never, ever, ever assume that two lines are parallel just because they look parallel, okay? Only if the question says, or only if you're able to deduce by the help of the angles that they're parallel, should you then take the lines to be parallel. Okay, now let's see what it says. Find the value of x and y. D is a right angle, right? No, D is not a right angle. In fact, it's 60 degrees. Okay, now let's see what we can do over here. Since the lines are parallel, it definitely has something or the other to do with parallel lines. Okay, with alternating angles, who knows? Now, if you look at angle x, now this is a property that's not very frequently tested, okay, but it's a property nonetheless. So x will actually be equal to 38 degrees. And you know what this property is called? This property is called alternate segment. Okay, you can call it alternate segment, or you can call it the chord and tangent property. Okay, now I'll show you what this property looks like quickly. So for a detailed explanation, I will suggest to watch the video in which I've explained all the concepts, but just to give you a quick not intro exactly, but like a quick explanation, this is how it works. So let's say you have this angle A over here. Okay, now here's how this works. There you can see that you have a triangle. Okay, now having a triangle with all three sides touching the circumference of the circle basically means that you have three chords. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. You have three chords and one tangent. Okay, now reason why this property is also called the chord and tangent property is because here's how this works. So if you have A, here's the chord opposite to A. Now the chord opposite to angle A and the tangent will make the same angle. So you can see that this is 49. The angle formed between the chord opposite to A and the tangent is also 49 degrees. Okay, and doesn't end over there. If you have 67 degrees over here, the chord opposite to 67 degrees and the tangent will also make a 67 degree angle. Okay, so that's how this works. This app is called Circle Theorems. Apparently it's no more available on the iOS store. That means you can't download it, and the reason why I still have it is because I haven't flashed my iPad, and this app is probably the only reason why I don't plan on flashing my iPad ever. And yes, I'm using an iPad and Apple Pencil. Okay, all right, so hopefully that's clear. Now x is 38 degrees. Now the question is asking you to find out the value of y. Okay, so here's 38 degrees. Now let's see how we can find out the value of y. Now if you think about it, you have a pair of alternating angles over here. I'll switch to a different color so you guys can distinguish. Okay, so yeah, if you think about it, like I said, you have a pair of alternating angles over here. Now since we already know what x is equal to, it's equal to 38 degrees. That means we can now find out what this angle is. This angle is also 38 degrees because like I said, we know x is 38 degrees. Okay, now if somehow, all right, let's not worry about how, but if somehow we're able to find out this angle, that means we can also very easily find out angle y. Okay, and now if you think about it, A, B, C, D are basically 4 points touching the circumference. That tells us that A, B, C, D is, although a quadrilateral, but it's not just any quadrilateral, it's actually a cyclic quadrilateral. Okay, which means that angle A, B, C is equals to 180 minus 60, which means that angle ABC is equals to 120 degrees. Now, if this angle is 120 degrees, that means now we have exactly what we need in order to find out angle y. So this is 120. Now we can do y plus 120 plus 38, which is equal to 180. And we can work out the value of y. So let's see what do we have. 180 minus 120 minus 38. So y is equals to 22 degrees. Opposite angles, yep, Abdullah, that's correct. And yes, Tessin, that's correct, 22 degrees. All right, now let's do another question which I've marked yellow. Yeah, let's do this question. So this is from February-March 2020, paper 2, variant 2. Let's see what it says. It says A, B, C, and D lie on the circle. Okay, so we have a cyclic quadrilateral to begin with. Keep that in mind. PCQ is a tangent to the circle at C. All right, that's great. Angle ACQ equals to 64 degrees. All right, that's even better. Work out angle ABC, which by the way is this angle. Okay, giving your answer. Giving reasons for your answer. Okay, now let's see. Now, you can't immediately work out this angle, which is why it's a 3-mark question. Okay, but let's see what we can find out to begin with. Now, here also, we're going to be using the alternate segment, or you can say the chord and tangent property. Okay, why is that? Because you have a triangle over here. Okay, and you have a tangent line over here. So this angle that you're looking at will be equal to 64 degrees. Why is that? That's because the chord opposite to it and the tangent in between make an angle of 64 degrees. So this also will be equal to 64 degrees. Okay. All right. Now, if this is 64, that pretty much allows us to figure out the value of angle ABC. Now make sure to mention this, okay? Make sure to mention this because the question is looking for reasoning, okay? So ADC, okay, no need to make double angle there. ADC is equals to 64 degrees because of alternate segment. All right, now what we can work out is angle ABC. So angle ABC will be equal to 180 minus 64 degrees. And why is that? That's because it's a cyclic quadrilateral. So make sure that your reasoning is short and to the point, okay? So 180 minus 64 is equals to 116. There you go. So could you explain how D is 64? So we're using the alternate segment property over here. Okay, so this angle formed between the chord and the tangent is going to be the same angle as the point opposite to the chord. Okay, that's how it works. All right, it's basically this property here, this one. Okay, so this is angle B. Here's the chord that's opposite of B, and here's the angle between the chord that's opposite of B and the tangent, which is also B. Here's angle A. Here's the chord opposite of A, and you can see the angle between the chord and the tangent is also equal to A. Okay, cyclic quadrilateral is a quadrilateral where all four sides are touching the circumference. Okay. All right, now I think we've done enough easy questions. All right, here's an interesting question. Okay, this I want you guys to solve. Okay, it's not difficult, it's interesting, but I want you guys to try it. So you have to basically identify which length will be the diameter and also with reasoning behind it. Okay, so what theorem is this using? Alternate segment theorem. Okay, any luck? I know it's a different question. It's not a regular question. Okay, so Saliha, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, says GH, so does Abdullah. GH, alright, let's have a look. GH, you're saying is the diameter. Are you sure about that? Okay, so it might be misleading, but GH is actually not the diameter. DF. Okay, so sadly DF is also not the diameter. Okay, so it's not GH, it's not DF. Alright, it's something else altogether. DE. Yes, so finally we have a winner. DE is the correct answer. And kisne bola? It's, well, whatever it is, it's PS plays whatever. Okay, so the correct answer is DE. Now why is DE the correct answer? Let's see. So the reason why D is the correct answer is because, now the thing is, let's take a step back. How do we identify the diameter? The way to identify the diameter is, well, there are two ways to look at it. Angle opposite the diameter is 90 degrees, or you could say that the length opposite of 90 degrees is the diameter. Right, makes sense. Just how we say angle at the center is twice the angle of the circumference, and then we also say angle at the circumference is half the angle that's at the center. Okay, so we can apply that concept over here also. Now if you look at DE, and if you try and identify the angle that's opposite of DE, which is DFE, you will realize that it's actually 90 degrees. Why is it 90 degrees? Because you have one angle which is 8, you have the other angle which is 82. That means that 180 minus 82 minus 8 is actually equal to what? Is actually equal to 90 degrees. Now what is the length that's opposite of this angle? It's DE. So that means DE is the diameter. Okay, I hope everyone understands why it's DE and not what you guys said, like GE, AB, or AC. Okay, and in fact, let's actually look at why AB is not the diameter. So the reason why AB is not the diameter is because if you look at the angle that's opposite of AB, it's not 90 degrees. Okay, and for the same reason, GH is also not the diameter, because if you look at the angle that's opposite of GH, it's not 90 degrees. So yeah, that's how this works. Easy peasy. Okay, I think enough of easy and medium level questions. Let's do a difficult question. Okay, let's try and solve this question. This looks like a difficult one. Okay, let's see what it says. And this, by the way, is from also IGCSE, October, November, paper 2, variant 1. Okay. So it says here A, B, and P are points on a circle center O, and angle OBA is equals to 38 degrees. Find angle APB. Okay. Now here's a suggestion. My suggestion is that whenever you have a question that's like worth 2-3 marks, okay, actually not 2 marks, but like worth 3 marks, so don't immediately start worrying about what it is that you have to find, like APB in this case. Okay, find out everything else that you can. Okay, and make sure to show your working. Yes, this worksheet is publicly available. You'll find it in the description. So as I was saying, make sure to show your working so that the examiner knows exactly what angles you're trying to work out. Okay, so APB, like I said, I'm not worried about what I have to find. Let's first think about this triangle. So if you think about this triangle, you know that it's going to be an isosceles triangle because OA and OB are radii, which is the plural of radius of the same circle. Okay, so let's see what do we have. 180. So first things first, let's write OB equals to OA, which is equal to R. Now the examiner knows that because these two lengths are equal, that means we know that the angles opposite to them will also be equal. Okay, so once you do this, so you have 180 minus 38, which is equal to 104 degrees. Okay, so now you have this angle, which is equal to 104 degrees. Okay, now if you think about it, the angle that you want is the angle that's at the circumference. Okay, and I can see someone's already given the answer. Vansh has already given the answer. So the angle that we want is actually the angle that's at the circumference. Okay, so what property connects these two angles? Its angle at the center is twice the angle at the circumference. Okay, so what do you guys think? This angle is going to be half of 104. Why is that? Because it's at the circumference, so angle at the circumference is half the angle that's at the center. So this angle is going to be 52 degrees. Okay, so there you go. That's your answer. All right, I hope it's clear. I say, to be honest, I don't know why I marked this red. It's not that difficult. Okay, no, not alternative angles, Abdullah. Okay, good thing you've deleted that. Okay, here's part B. Let's see what this says. It says CDEF is a cyclic quadrilateral and FC equals to FE. So the question is already telling us that. TU is a tangent to the circle at C, okay, and TCF is equal to 50 degrees. All right, calculate angle EFC. So EFC is this angle. Okay, and how many marks is this? This is a 2-mark question. So that means it's very likely that we might have to find out something else before we can find out this angle. Okay, now let's see. If I ask you guys, what is this angle going to be? Considering that the angle between the chord opposite to angle FEC or EFC and the tangent is 50 degrees. Okay, so this angle will also be equal to what? This angle will also be equal to 50 degrees. Okay, but remember, this is not the angle that you have to find, but with the help of this, we're going to find all the other angles. So FEC is equal to 50 degrees, and why is that? Because of alternate segment. Okay, now if this is 50 degrees, what does that mean? That means that this angle will also be 50 degrees, not because of a circle property, but because that we are looking at an isosceles triangle. Okay, so now we can finally find out what it is that we want by taking 180 and from it subtracting 50 and 50. So the answer is equal to 100 degrees. Okay, so I'll mention it over here. The triangle EFC is an Isosceles. Okay, I honestly don't know if this is how you spell isosceles. I'm pretty sure there's something wrong here. Isosceles. But anyway, you get the point, right? Okay. Triangle EFC is isosceles. That's enough. And why is it an isosceles triangle? Because it's given. Okay. All right. Now it's time for CDE. So for CDE, let's switch to a different color, which is this. Now bear in mind that we already have this angle. So if you want to find out the angle that's opposite to it, yeah, I knew there's something wrong. ISOSCELES. Okay, sorry about that. ISO. Okay, so it's not that bad. I think I just missed an S. There you go. Okay. ISOSCELES. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so angle CDE, here's what we're going to do. 180 minus 80, which is equal to 100 degrees. And since it's a 1 mark question, there's no need to write any reasoning or anything. No, Hasib, I didn't do that. It's just that I'm not working with them anymore. So if you want to cover binomial theorem, then what you can do is you can watch my AS videos. Okay. And it's the same as AdMath. All right, if you watch the AS binomial videos, and AdMath binomial videos will also be covered. I mean, that it's the difficulty level is the same, more or less. Okay. All right, 180 minus 80. So yeah, so what have I written? Oh, actually, you were just correcting yourself. Okay, great. All right, now let's do another question. So there's one question that I particularly want to solve with you guys, and yeah, that's this question. So I think I'm just gonna do what, 2 more questions maybe. All right, let's see. Okay, so I haven't highlighted this question. Let me see where this falls. I think this is a fairly average question, average difficulty level. Okay, let's see. So it says here, the first thing you have to do is find x. Okay. Now, if you want to find out x, let's see what we can do here. So let's first read the question, in fact. So it says A, B, C, D, and E lie on the circle. AB is parallel to ED. So let's highlight the word parallel. Probably, maybe one of the answers maybe to calculate one of the answers, we're going to need help of this. ABE is 62 degrees. Okay. Rest are just the angles that we can also see in the diagram. Now you have to find out the value of x. Okay. Now, if you want to find out the value of x, you will first have to be able to single out this quadrilateral. Okay. Now, BCDE is a cyclic quadrilateral, and the reason for that is all 4 sides are touching the circumference. Okay. So that means 127 and x will add up to 180 degrees. So let's see. 127 plus x equals to 180. Now we have the value of x, which is equal to 53 degrees. All right, let me just double check. 180 minus 127 is equal to 53 degrees. Okay, so that's great. Now we have the value of x. All right, then it says find y. Okay, so in order to find y, now this property, this same segment property, is perhaps the only property that's very difficult to identify. And the reason behind that is because, especially when you have so many lines and so many shapes inside. Okay, so always try and look for this property. Okay, so just be conscious that there is a circle property which is difficult to identify. It's called same segment. So always try and look for this property. Okay, so we have this property over here, and because of that, angle y is going to be equal to what? Angle y will also be equal to 40 degrees. So immediately we have the angle of y, the value of y, which is equal to 40 degrees. We can write it over here because of same segment, so that later on when you guys are reviewing, you know exactly what I've done. And here also I'll write cyclic quadrilateral. Okay, now comes the value of z, which also is a 1 mark question. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly erase what I've done here. Now let's see. Now we still haven't, so far we hadn't used the information of parallel lines. Okay, now we're going to be using it. Let's see. So this angle is 62 degrees. That means that this entire angle will also be 62 degrees because of alternating angles. Okay, so that means z, or z, whatever you want to call it, plus 40 equals to 62 degrees. So that means z is equals to 22 degrees. Okay, 62 minus 40, 22 it is. So I'll write this over here. Okay, and I will mention it, alternating angles. There you go. Okay. Now there's one more question that I'm going to solve, and that should be it. Okay. And it's this question. So it says here, find an expression in terms of x and or y for dBc. Okay. dBc. So dBc is this angle. Okay. Now remember here, we're not going to be working out the value of any angle. Okay. They're all going to be in terms of x or y. Now dBc, if you want to find out the value of this angle, okay, now if you think about it, the angle at the center is y, and we are supposed to find the angle that's at the circumference. Okay. So the property is angle at the center is twice the angle at the circumference. That means dBc is going to be equal to half y. There you go. That's it. That's your answer for the first part at least. Then it says ABD. Okay, so let me just erase this. ABD is actually this angle. Okay. Now, what is ABD going to be equal to? If you think about it, let's see what we can apply over here. So we can't use angle at the center property. We can't use angle opposite the diameter. Okay, now found it. Remember what I said earlier? I said always look for the alternate segment property, and that's exactly what we have hidden over here. So this angle will be equal to x. ABD is equal to x. Okay. I can see someone has mentioned BDC is equals to 90 degrees. Yep, that's absolutely true. It's not just BDC that's going to be equal to 90 degrees. In fact, BAC will also be equal to 90 degrees. Okay, so BAC will also be equal to 90 degrees. So I'll write it over here. And why will this be equal to 90 degrees? Well, the reason behind that is because it's opposite the diameter. BC is a line that's passing through the center. That means it's a diameter. There you go. Okay, now let's see what you have to find next. You have to find AED, which by the way is a 2-mark question. Okay, AED. AED is this angle right here. Okay, now let's see how we can find out this angle. Now bear in mind that we have to find out this angle in terms of x or y only. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to call this angle A, and the angle that I want, I'm going to call it B. Now as far as A is concerned, A plus 90 plus x. Okay, so we're talking about this triangle right here. A plus 90 plus x equals 180 degrees, which means if you work out for the value of A, not at the value but like an expression, so you get 180 minus 90, which is 90, and then you take x over to the other side, so you have 90 minus x. Okay, then we know very well that A plus B equals to 180 degrees, and B is the angle that we want, which is basically 180 minus A. And now we know what A is equal to. That means 180 minus 90 minus x, which means 180 minus 90 is 90, and minus minus is plus, so plus x. Okay, now when you're working out an angle like this, we have to make assumptions, so it's always a good idea to mention what it is that you're taking as A and what it is that you're taking as B. So here I will suggest that you write BEA equal to A, alright, just for the examiner, so that the examiner knows what it is that you're calling A and what it is that you're calling B. Okay, so let BEA equal to A and put a comma and say AED equal to B. Okay, so just to be on the safe side, so that the examiner knows what it is that you're referring to when you write A and what it is that you're referring to when you write B. Okay, then comes BDA. Okay, so BDA is basically this angle. Okay, how can we find out the value of BDA? Let's see. And how many marks is this? This is a 1-mark question. Okay, so I'm just gonna erase everything else, and yeah. So we have this angle that we just worked out. This turned out to be 90 plus x, and this we know is half y. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to be using this triangle AED, alright, and sum of all these angles is going to be equal to 180 degrees. So half y plus 90 plus x plus, let's call this C, or in fact, you know what, let's not call this C, let's just call it exactly what the question has called it, BDA. Okay, BDA equals to 180 degrees. Now you work out the angle BDA by taking everything over to the other side. So 180 minus 90 is 90 minus x minus half y. There you go. That's your answer. Okay, so this was a difficult question. In fact, whenever you have a question that's in terms of x and y, they're usually slightly more difficult. Okay, sir, can you explain AED part? Yeah, sure, I can. AED. Okay, so for AED, here's what we did. We didn't work out AED directly. We worked out AEB. Okay, and whatever AEB turned out to be, now because BED is a straight line, we subtracted AEB from 180 to find out AED. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. Sir, when's your crash course coming? Inshallah, January. I will start the registrations in December, middle of December, 15th December, most likely. Okay, I'll announce on my Instagram, inshallah. Don't worry about it. Okay, so yeah. So that's about it, guys. I hope the stream helped. And I will encourage you guys to solve the remaining questions. Here, you can see, you will find the same PDF. All right, I've written the answers over here so you guys can cross-check what the correct answer is. And yeah, you also have my notes. So good luck for your exams. And that's about it. Yes, this question was a little bit confusing. Yeah, you're right. How is A half y? Okay, so I'll quickly explain how A is half y. That's because you have the angle that's at the circumference and the angle that's at the center is y. So the angle that's at the circumference is going to be half the angle that's at the center. When am I going to do mensuration? If you're talking about live stream, then we'll try and do it soon, inshallah. Now, if I'm not sure if I'll be able to manage that before your midterms, okay, but before the CIs, definitely we'll have a live stream on mensuration. Don't worry. Okay, I do have a few videos here and there on mensuration, so I'd suggest you guys watch that. Okay, sir, ADOC can be used for alternating angles. Okay, Nabil, it doesn't say here anywhere that you have a pair of parallel lines, so please refrain from making any assumptions. Okay, so yeah. Graphs of functions. Let's see. I have a lot of videos on graphs of functions, Abdullah. Make sure to check those out. Let's see. So will you stream anything else before midterms? Yes, most likely I'll be streaming one more topic. Now, I will run a poll on my Instagram to see what you guys say, and then we'll stream accordingly. Okay. Alright, so that's it, boys and girls. Take care. See you very soon.